What's up? It's me, Chris, from Wrestling in Session, and this video is a response video to the guy on Spinnernet1. Great wrestling channel. If you want to learn a lot about wrestling, pro wrestling in the past, or whatever the case may be, listen to this guy because he knows his stuff. And he recently did a video earlier today, basically on who was your first heel that you cheered. You know, the bad guy, like in wrestling or whatever, that you liked. You know, this guy was talking about him starting. He started watching wrestling in 1989, as he said. I started watching maybe 1996, although I have seen prior to that because I've seen old VHS cassettes and so forth. But anyway, you know, when I was watching and stuff, there were a few guys. Honestly, I'd say, like, when I first started watching, there were guys like Razor Ramon. I mean, he was more of a good guy and stuff, like, prior to him, a little prior to him leaving the WWF to go to WCW. But honestly, another person I liked before he went to WCW as a heel was Bret Hart. Because, like, that was right when him and Austin basically flipped. People, like, stopped cheering, well, didn't stop cheering Bret Hart because he had a fan base. You could love him or you could hate him. He's always been that way. But he would kind of turn bad. You know, I didn't really know too much about Austin. Like, even though he wrestled for a long time, plenty of years in WCW, brief run in ECW, but anyway, Bret Hart was a guy I liked because he wasn't like a complete asshole, you know, like what he did and stuff, but he kind of told the fans how it is. You guys turned your backs on me, and he didn't do anything too savage-like, but I liked him, and he speak the truth, but he wasn't a kiss ass anymore. It wasn't that normal. Well, Bret Hart was never a kiss ass, but somebody who wasn't like, all right, face. And another guy, honestly, The Rock, you know, back in 1998, still around the time when the Nation of Domination was going, you know, he was kind of cocky. I didn't really like, you know, because, you know, when you're a young kid, you're supposed to cheer for the good guys, you know, but, like, I had a bunch of friends and they'd be like, why do you like him? He's bad. He's not cool. He's a mean guy. That's probably what you said back in the day, but I'm like, you know, they're interesting. They're exciting. They're fun to watch, these bad guys, and that's what good. That was what was good about the heels back then. But yeah, back to when I first started watching, you know, The Rock, in Nation of Domination, the guy who talked a lot, but he had some great feuds with Austin, man. Even back then, not even when the WWF Championship was on the line, but the Intercontinental Championship, and you know, it was and look what happened after that. Yeah, I didn't like him as much as a bad guy as I liked him as a good guy. I could go back, you know, 2001, 2002. He was my absolute favorite, especially when he came back to wrestle at Survivor Series. You know, I was like, oh my God, Rock. You know, back then when you're a kid, your idols are people like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Danny Glover, Jesse Ventura, Hulk Hogan. You know, my idol was The Rock, personally, and, you know, I realized even more as I started to like him when he was a good guy. I look back at, you know, back when he was a heel, so my memory wouldn't be as unvague. You know, I loved it. The Rock is just a great entertainer. Another guy I'd have to go with maybe is probably Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle back in, you know, maybe 2000, 2001 when they were feuding. Benoit eventually became a good guy, but Angle just came in like late 99, around the same time as Chris Jericho. And he was, you know, he's an Olympic gold medalist. I mean, he was kind of had a little bit of a boring, you know, nerdy gimmick back then, but he was a great wrestler. And I was like, this guy is like, he's so versatile. When I was a kid, I'm like, and he's, you know, an Olympic gold medalist, and he's the only professional wrestler to be an Olympic gold medalist. And back in the 1996 Olympics, but Angle, you know, he was just very athletic. I was like, oh, I want to be super like that. And another guy I'd have to go with, honestly, maybe I shouldn't say it. Cena. Okay. I'm not, like, it's a good thing. I mean, I'm not really much of a Cena fan, but I did like him when he first came in as a bad guy because, you know, he had the rap gimmick, he talked shit, he was kind of funny, and that's when I started listening to, like, hip-hop and R&B, and I was like, oh, he's got that kind of swag to him, and it was kind of cool, you know? But personally, there's so many, there was so much heels back then. Like, you could talk about when Edge and Christian were heels, DX, NWO, but you still love them. Nowadays, like, not like you hate them because they're really not they're not bad, they're like, alright, whatever. But these guys, like, they could, they were just so much more talented, and despite whether they were bad or good, they were entertaining, and you loved them regardless. But, this basically is a response video from me, Chris of Wrestling in Session, to Spinnernet1 or whatever. Subscribe to him. I had to favorite this video. I mean, it's prime time bitch or whatever he calls it. Man, he's a funny guy, but yeah, those are the first heels that I liked. Well, the first one obviously was like Bret Hart, Razor Ramon, but I give you a few of the heels that I liked. Even I'll say another one, Brock Lesnar, great heel because he was just ruthless and he was a monster. Another guy, Randy Orton. Randy Orton made a great heel, especially when he first came in with Evolution. He kind of had that pretty boy thing to him, and then, when he, after he kind of got screwed over, the night, I think the exact night was August 29th, 2004, the night after he became the World Heavyweight Champion, when he beat Chris Benoit at SummerSlam, Evolution turned on him, which made him have a face turn. Loved Orton, and another guy who I liked him as a bad guy, I liked him more as a face, but realized that I could like him more as a bad guy if I look at his past stuff and how much he's done. And, that's something Spinnernet said in his video. I think he said about, maybe it was Jeff Jarrett or whatever, because he said he loved the bad Jeff Jarrett. But anyway, I'm going to cut it short. It's me, Chris. This is Wrestling in Session. Offset.